All right, we're on record. Welcome, everyone, to Exploiting the Explicit with Abigail Hathaway, because here we're going to exploit explicitly what's right in front of us.
There we go.
And this is my special guest, Corey. I don't know if he wants his full name said.
Corey Jackson. Corey Diamond.
Interesting. All right, Corey Diamond is a diamond.
Yes. Diamond in the rough.
All that pressure.
Yes. Pressure creates diamonds.
It does. It really does.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is our test run. If anyone in the world ever sees this, figuring it out. Okay. How do we look when we look at each other? Blah, 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 blah. How does it sound?
Sounds good.
This is fun.
Yeah,
This is cute.
it is. And you can still hear it with it down a little lower if you want to see your face. You know.
Pointing the mic at the world. All right, let's see.
Yeah, that works.
All right. And cut. Well, thank you all for tuning in to Exploiting the Explicit with Abigail Hathaway. And here is my special guest, Corey Diamond, who will be joining me as we delve into the human psyche, soul, and spirit to learn more about ourselves and others.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
And we're all excited that you're here as well. So, today, this is kind of our test run. This is episode 1 and a pilot of our series, Exploiting the Explicit. So, today, we're going to begin by talking of a little theory I have. The theory, the two-faced man. Mm-hmm. Bum, bum, bum. All right. So, I have a theory that we all have two people. Our face, if you notice, there's two sides. And unless you're perfectly symmetrical, was near impossible, which is near impossible for human beings to be. Notice how you have you might have two personalities inside of you, and this maybe not personalities, but let's say you argue with yourself, right? Well, where's that coming from, right? You are made of two sex cells, a sperm cell and an egg cell. That's two different souls, two different spirits coming together, two different physical forms coming together. And notice how one side of your face, if you cover it up, looks slightly different than the other side of the face. And if you were to complete that in a complete symmetry, it would be two different people.
Mm.
So maybe there is something to that where when you're like, oh, I want to eat this cupcake. But then the other part of you is like, don't you dare eat that cupcake. Well, who wins and why?
Mm.
Is that like half of the egg cell and the half of the sperm cell fighting? Is that what your dad would want or your mom would want? Is that you? Is it not? Is it spirit? Is it not? Is it God? Is it the devil? Is it not?
I like that theory. Yeah,
I don't know.
super.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Um, when you break things down in that way, it almost kind of reminds me of Carl Jung and the
Mm-hmm.
theory of like the shadow.
Oh, the shadow self.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
So, would half your face be the shadow and the other half is you?
Well, it's kind of like what you think of as you is like a combination of both of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, consciousness has so many layers to it. So it's like who you are is a combination of that. But in
Yeah.
reality, it's all just a construct. Like who you are is a construct. Because in reality, the one behind who you are is who you really are.
Right.
So it's a level deeper. You're
Mm-hmm.
the observer,
Mm-hmm.
not the one who's experiencing. that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Like our brains and
Mhm.
like our consciousness
Mhm.
is literally just like um how do we how do I describe it? Like uh we're characters
Mhm.
essentially in this universal play, and like so we had parents, we had the sperm cell, the egg cell, and like we were in an environment, and like that environment helped mold us and use the genes that we have to create this character in
Mhm.
this like play, and like who we really are is the spirit that
Mhm.
encompassed this character. And so like I think sometimes we get lost and we get like wrapped into this story,
Yeah.
and we think like, oh yeah, I'm this character, and then you become like essentially trapped
Yeah.
in the story, in the play,
Mhm.
and that's when you get unhappy. It's
Yeah.
because
Well,
you
you begin to
identify,
identify as the
yes,
body,
you
and you're not the
identify too
body.
closely with the
Mhm.
character,
Yeah.
and you lose
Yeah.
control, and you lose your purpose, you lose your creativity,
Right.
like you lose your god-like essence
Yeah.
because you become identified with the
Mhm.
character. And it's like, hold on, wait, let's not forget this
Right.
is a play. And
Yes.
like,
The world's your stage.
yeah, this
Mhm.
is you don't forget that. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like like that's what it means. Like you have to be woke in the sense of
Right.
like recognizing, okay, let me step back from this
Mhm.
character and reassess. Being that this play is something that like I have autonomy
Mhm.
over,
Mhm.
how do I want the next chapter to
The
go?
next scene
The
to
next
act
scene
out.
to act out.
Mhm.
And it can
100%.
go either way.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
so decide, do I want it to go like in a light way or do I want it to go in a dark way? Which one will I choose?
Right. Right.
You know?
Ah, so maybe the split of the face is one represents the lightness and one represents the darkness within
That's what
us.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
And so yeah, just like, how do you want to identify with,
Yeah.
life, the world,
Mhm.
the play that we're on?
Mhm.
That's a question that I think we have to be mindful of. And
Always.
I don't think that it's always, you can't always be light because there's
Mhm.
cycles. There's cycles to everything.
Yeah. There's a
Like
balance.
there's a balance to
Mhm.
everything. And I think
Mhm.
knowing like why that dark side is there and becoming like familiar with it
Yeah.
is our goal, because the thing is like we're programmed throughout life to shame our dark side
Right.
and
The
feel
shadow
bad
self.
about the shadow
Yeah.
self and suppress it, when in reality like you can't heal what isn't exposed.
Right.
And
It
so
needs to come to
it
the
needs
surface.
to come to the
Right.
surface to
Right.
evolve.
Right.
And so essentially you stay stuck when you suppress that. And so you
Mhm.
have to like
Mhm.
become friends with that side of you, because
Right. I got chills.
once you
Mhm.
allow it to come to the surface, then you can actually be healed. And that's when you
Exactly.
start to become like the great people
Right.
in this society that we look to, and we're like, wow, how did Mother Teresa get that way? Like, how did Buddha get that way? Like, how did these people
Mhm.
who evolved
Mhm.
to this high level
Right.
of
They
consciousness
became
become that
friends
way?
with the darkness.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps.
Yes. And if you read,
Truth.
this is not just a theory. Like if you
No,
read their
right?
stories, you
Mhm.
hear about the darkness
You
they
can see it, right?
experienced, and they will
Mhm.
be very transparent
Mhm.
about it. And like
Right.
some of the
Right.
greatest people come from the darkest backgrounds, and they've
Exactly.
experienced the darkest things
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
But like they faced it head on. They didn't
Mhm.
allow it to define them, and they
Right.
and in
They
like
voluntarily went into the depths of hell,
yes.
as Jordan
And
Peterson says.
yeah, voluntarily and sometimes involuntarily, but they made a decision to do it consciously
Right.
while they
Exactly.
were there. Because we can't
Exactly.
always control the hell that we experience,
Yep.
but we can control how we
Mhm.
respond to it.
Mhm.
And so, another good book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. It's a
Okay.
great.
I
Oh,
haven't
you
heard
haven't
of
read
that.
that one?
No.
What?
I
All these books
know.
you have, and you have not read Man's Search for Meaning? Oh my God,
Man
that's
search
another
for
short.
meaning.
That's another short one.
Who's it by?
Viktor Frankl. He was a doctor who survived the Holocaust,
Oh.
and the book is probably one of those most meaningful books
Yeah.
like I ever read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's just it does it injustice to explain it because you have to
Mhm.
experience it. But
Right.
yeah, Man's Search for Meaning is one of
Okay.
those books that I think every person who's on like this like what's the way like track like this rat race of
Right.
life in this
Mhm.
play who gets stuck in the character,
Mhm.
they need to read that book because
Yeah.
it will help you really put a lot of things into perspective. And it goes
Right.
back
Right.
to what I was saying about like how you don't always control what set of circumstances,
Mhm.
but you always can control how you respond to it. And that
Yes.
is
Or
the
react.
or
There's a difference
react.
between, well,
Yes.
yeah, or response.
Yeah,
'Cause you.
react or response.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
that's your power.
Yes. Yes.
That's
And
your
then
power.
one thing I wanted to mention is when you identify too much with the body, that is literally getting sucked in and stuck in the world of man.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that's when you do lose your soul. Your life force depletes itself because you are separate from the body. You
Mm,
are the observer. I like to look at it as the body is a vessel, it's the ship in
mm,
which takes us through these waters, right? This
mhm.
sea
Mhm.
that we're in.
Mm,
And we're the captain of our own ship. So
mhm.
we have that ability to guide it and steer the vessel, but we are not the vessel.
Mm. Yeah.
And we need to take care of the ship. If your ship gets like, splinters in the boards, you need to furnish it and fix it. If there's a hole, a leak, you got to patch the hole. And it's the same thing with our bodies. We need to take care of our bodies
Yeah.
in order to continue the journey.
Well, there's a scripture that says like our body is a temple of God,
Yes.
and so we have to respect that temple, but also realize it's just a temple,
Yeah.
and really God dwells inside of it. And what
Mhm.
is God? Like God is so much more powerful. Like His essence, His being,
Mhm.
His image is like encapsulated in this little like I was just thinking the other day. I'm gonna go on a tangent real
Okay.
quick. I was just thinking the other day about Jesus Christ and
Mhm.
like, cause it's Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like how phenomenal it is that like all of existence, all of creation, like all essence, all energy
Mhm.
was like put into one being,
Mhm.
and like how phenomenal that must have been to be on the earth when that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Like literally, when you read the stories about how people were just healed by just being in the vicinity of all of that power,
Mhm.
and it's like when he was here, he gave us so much like revelation, wisdom, and knowledge when he
Mhm.
spoke, but
Mhm.
he said like when I leave, it'll be better because then you will have the spirit inside of you and you'll do greater works even than I've done.
Yeah.
And so what I realize is like as people, like we are so much greater than we recognize,
Yes.
and like
Mhm.
the bad actors in this play
Mhm.
are like trying to dim down our light. It's really
Yep.
like where if you think about it in a sense of like you being a millionaire but not having access to like your Bitcoin, that
Yeah.
because you lost it
Right.
before it blew up,
Mhm.
and now people are like, oh, you a bum, you this and that, and you believe it,
Mhm.
but you actually have this Bitcoin somewhere, and it's like, how do I get access to it, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and so that's really what this life is like, um, kind of exploring, like, what's the code,
Yeah.
and like we are just on this wave of fighting off
Mhm.
the invaders that try to
Right.
keep us away from our destiny.
Yeah. Well,
You know
like
what
you
I
said,
mean?
the body is the temple of God,
Yeah.
but we have domain over the door. So we
Mm.
can choose what we let in and let out.
Mhm.
So we can choose to let evil into the temple,
Mhm.
but then the temple becomes saturated and it's not conducive to love and growth
Mhm.
because we let evil in, and evil is
Mhm.
destructive. Evil is preventative of letting our spirits shine and
Yeah.
letting us be the light that we are.
Yeah.
So it's
And
almost
sometimes
like,
it's not a
hmm
conscious choice. I just want to
right,
say,
yes,
because the thing
yes,
is, like,
definitely.
not choosing is also a choice. So
Right.
passivity is a
Mhm.
choice. And so if
Mhm.
we are just, if we just like not necessarily say, oh, I'm going to let this negative energy
Mhm.
into my life, but if you aren't actively like blocking
Yeah.
the negative energy,
Yes.
then you are choosing
You're
to allow the
letting it
negative.
seep
Yeah, yeah.
in.
But
And anytime your intuition and your gut tells you not to let something in,
yes,
that is your cue. That's your sign to not let it in. Because even if you think you're not doing anything wrong, over time and only in hindsight will you see how ignoring that spark, that initial gut instinct, what it actually does to your world and how it
mm-hmm,
destroys you and hinders you from being your brightest self.
mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah, yeah. It, it's distractions. It's
Yeah,
distractions. It's
it's the
like,
world of man,
yes,
and it's designed to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It really
Mm.
is a journey,
Mhm.
and um,
It's like the journey how I see it. It's like we're all born with the awareness of God and love, right? Kids, that sparkle
uh-huh,
in their eye, we
yeah,
all have it, but then we all at some point lose it. And the journey of life is to literally get back to it and to
yeah,
find that again. And
yeah,
that's the narrow gate
yeah.
that the Bible talks about,
Mm,
finding the narrow gate to heaven.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jesus even mentions that like the kingdom of God is uh like the way to salvation is so simple a child can understand it,
Yeah,
and you have to be childlike. Like unless you
right.
enter the kingdom, unlike one of these, you will not see a kingdom of heaven.
Oh, I just got goosebumps
Yeah,
again. So that's
but
how we know it's true.
yes, it's all there. Like
Right, right. You
yes,
have to like live life and go through life like with a childlike mindset, but also have that responsibility of
mm-hmm,
being there to serve
mm-hmm,
others in the community.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And that's heaven on earth, because heaven on earth and hell on earth both exist,
Yes,
and it's a choice.
yes,
It's a spectrum. I look at it like a pendulum, and swinging all the way to the left is the negative, swinging all the way to the right is the positive. And when you're in that middle, you can dance that line between heaven and hell based off just one decision can change the direction in which you're going. And then the more you go into the negative, that destructive, that selfish energy, you're in you're in hell on earth, and everything around you starts to morph and change as a result of that. Then you can like literally physically see that. And then
yeah,
in the opposite, you can swing the pendulum back to the right and go into heaven
yes,
through time. Momentum is what builds that
yeah,
swing.
yeah. And like like we control which way the swing go,
Yep.
and it's all conscious, right?
Yeah.
And so like we can make the world around us hell, or we can
Mhm.
make the world around us heaven.
Yes.
It depends on how aligned we are
Mhm.
with the spirit of God.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
something that I'm learning as
Mhm.
well. And
Mhm.
like people who are in hell,
Yeah.
that's why they want us around them so bad, because
Yeah.
they don't realize it subconsciously. They want the heaven that we have, and
Yeah.
they're like, how do I get that? And so they try to like suck us into that hell that they're in,
Right.
hoping that it will bring them to salvation. But they don't realize that the
Mhm.
choice has to happen in their mind. They have to be the ones to create the
Exactly.
heaven in their life. You can't
Yep.
siphon
Right.
somebody else's heaven
Mhm.
off of them.
But they live externally, so they
Yeah.
think they can,
Yeah.
and they can't. It
And
doesn't
it
work that
doesn't
way.
work that way.
Mm-mm.
You have to be the one to choose heaven. And so
Yeah.
that's why like when you are a person who's really in tune with God, like it's like having a Midas touch,
Yep.
because like anything you touch becomes gold, and people are like
Transmutation of lead
you,
into gold, alchemy. We're all alchemists of our own lives.
and people are like witnessing that, and they're like,
Yeah.
how is it that this person is like so vibrant? And it's because like I'm
Right,
in
right.
tune,
It's
that
alignment
frequency.
of mind, body, and soul.
Yes,
That's what in sticking with your intuition, your gut instinct.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
You when you're in tune,
You
you
shine
create
bright.
heaven,
Mhm. Yeah.
and not only for yourself but for other people
Everyone around you.
around you,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they experience heaven. And
Mhm.
it's like when you get into the wrong mindset though, and you
Mhm.
get into hell, you create hell for consciousness
Right.
has shifted.
Misery loves company. And not only that, it's like if you look at a level of osmosis, like biological osmosis, you have like two cells, let's say, one's saturated with evil and one's unsaturated with evil. That unsaturated cell going near the saturated cell, through time, it permeates because we're permeable beings, and energy is unseen. And just over time you start to seep in and take on the characteristics of the most saturated energy. The most saturated cell will always overpower the least saturated cell. It's
That's
physics.
bars. That's bars right there.
Well, did you hear it's not Abigail, it's Rapigail? I'm going to wrap this up for you real quick.
That's good. I like that. I like that for sure. No, it's wisdom, and like it really is, like willpower is something that I don't think people can realize is what separates people who are higher on the spectrum of life. And like sometimes people with evil willpower, they have a lot of willpower, and if they was able to use that willpower in a good way, they can make a bigger difference in the world. But sometimes people have evil willpower, and like they will dominate the people around them with their willpower, and like essentially in terms of that osmosis that you're talking about, like people get drained.
Yeah.
Drained clean.
And the more powerful it is, the faster it's going to drain someone less powerful.
Yes.
Because it's just energy exchange.
Yes. And you don't realize it. So that's
Right.
why it's like when you get that shudder in your soul, like when you get that feeling like, that's because that person with a more dominant willpower is starting to take control of you.
And you know, your body knows, and you have to listen to the body because you are not the body, and the body communicates with you through physiological means.
And it works in reverse because people, like when you are connected to God and you like have your willpower is powerful, when you get around somebody with a less powerful willpower, but they still want to be evil, they feel your good rubbing off on them. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to be around this person.
Right. Yes, exactly. I've experienced that. That's so true.
Yeah, it goes in reverse.
Yeah. And you can like see it on their face.
They're turned off.
Yes, exactly.
They're turned off. They're like,
100%.
Nah, I don't want to be in heaven. I'd rather be in hell.
Right. I'm too comfortable over here.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. People get comfortable in what they've been used to. So if you were like born into hell, it's so hard to get out of hell because that's all you know. Like for me, like I just kept going back to the world of depravity and my decisions that I make. Even like I'd get a little bit into heaven, but oh my gosh, this is just so foreign to me. I need to get back to what I know and what I'm used to, and also what has been funneled into me. Like as a child, like you'll amount to nothing. You're going to be homeless. You're going to be poor. No one will ever love you. So anytime I ever got money, I made sure didn't have money. And anytime I started having people, I made sure to cut them out because I had to fit the narrative of what I was told as a child, because evil needed to keep me, or, like in hell, like, or as they say in so many different like stories or situations or like movies that you see, like the devil needs to keep his souls. The devil needs his people, like in the Screw Tape Letters or Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Which
it
I'm
talks
gonna
about
read.
that. Yes, and it talks about how the devil needs, like they have to win over the minds of the weak and bring his souls into into hell. So it's kind of like it's a spiritual war, and it's like who can end up between the devil and God, let's say, for simple terms. Which side can end up with more people in the end? More warriors, more advocates, and yeah, you can get trapped because you just think that there's nothing other than that. That's why when the light is in front of the darkness, like someone that has light goes in front of someone that's dark, someone with love, abundance of love goes in front of someone that's evil. That's that. Oh my God, they're too bright. Like I got to get out of here. They don't want it. They don't want it around them.
Yeah, it really is like interesting how we are having this spiritual experience
Mhm.
and how like this world feels more real than it is.
Yeah.
And it's like it really can become like hypnosis when you are not aware of like
Mhm.
your being and your light, and you just kind of um get through each day and like stick to a routine, and then you get sucked in to like the
Yeah.
devil's game, and
Mhm.
like you don't realize that like you're asleep.
Right.
And it's like once you start seeking God,
Yeah.
seeking truth, and seeking like expansion and
Mhm.
growth and creativity and vibrancy and love and like all the things of God and heaven, then you like start waking up and you start realizing like, dang, like I really walked away from heaven to experience hell because it was comfortable.
Yeah.
Like why did I do that?
Right.
And
Right.
then you get back into that flow.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about like each time you go unconscious in life, once you get out, you get a little bit wiser and a little bit stronger
Mhm.
and a little bit
Mhm.
like more like God.
Right.
And
Right.
then like the next time is less and
Mhm.
less until
Yes.
eventually you transcend from
Mhm.
this stage of
Mhm.
existence into
Mhm.
like this godlike
Yeah. Well, it's
existence. This
repetition building strength.
uh-huh.
And also, how you said before, it's like we have to let the shadow self come to the
Mhm.
surface because the only way we're actually going to be able to heal is to
Yes.
face it. So it's like
Yes.
every time we go back, it's a breath. It's like a little
Yes.
bit to more.
Yes.
And then it's like this swing. So then
Yes.
finally, then we stay over here because we're just traveling this way. It's ascension.
Yes.
Oh my god,
Oh, let's go. Let's go. Exactly.
I got
That's what it
chills.
is.
Propulsion.
That's what it
Oh.
is.
It's not cold in here either. This is
It's
truth.
not. That's
Oh.
I love that example. I'm glad you got that recorded for
Right. All right.
real.
Let's just say we have forgotten to hit record many times today, or else we would have had really good content on top of
Yeah, yeah. But
this.
yeah, no, I feel like I'm really grateful for this opportunity to like cuz we talked about this months ago,
Mhm.
it coming to fruition, and it was just something we set out there
Yep.
in the ether,
Mhm.
and now it's like come back full
Yes.
circle. And like I wasn't ready back when we talked about it
Right.
cuz I was still in a certain level of unconsciousness
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been, I don't think, as open and
Mhm.
beneficial to record or like do this test run with,
Right.
because I was like still trapped.
Yes.
and
Exactly.
and and
Mhm.
it's like God, He don't want trapped people
No.
being elevated,
Mhm.
because then you just keeping other people trapped. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So
Uh huh.
like,
Oh, I got chills again. Yep.
yeah. And
Exactly.
so like He uses us when we are in that like awakened state.
Yes.
And that's when He amplifies the
Mhm.
message. Because it's like,
Mhm.
okay, they're awake. Like now I
Mhm.
can use them to
Yeah.
like like share my message.
Inspire.
Inspire.
Right. Because what is spire? It's a point. Like
Mm.
inspire.
Yeah.
Spire within.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I like to think like passion. Now we have passion. We're passionate
Mhm.
and we're flowing. We're transparent. We've like caught the string. Let's however you want to call it. And when you're passionate with passion, you pass ions. You pass
Mhm.
energy on.
Mm.
Whereas if we're not in that flow state, then we're not going to have that type of energy that's going to inspire others
Yeah.
because it's not going to be able to transfer and flow. If
Mhm.
anything, it's just going to pull down and
Mm.
bring down. Or
Mm.
we're going to if we're trying to say a message and we're not in that flow state,
Mhm.
then we're going to influence someone in the wrong way to keep them trapped, to take them off their correct path, which I have done in my past, not knowing,
Oh
thinking
yeah.
that I was speaking truth, that I wasn't, had by the devil, that I finally made it into heaven on earth, but really it was just a facade
Yeah.
and it was a false reality that I was
Mhm.
still in hell and then the
Mhm.
devil was just playing with me like a puppet. So then I
Mhm.
would spew all this false information, and then
Mm-hmm.
I saw how it derailed people, but only in hindsight once I learned, woke up to it, and then they didn't get out of it. There was nothing I could do to get them out,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to live with that.
Yeah. And the thing, I just kind of add to that though is it's still their choice.
It
Like
is. It is. And
they
it's a journey.
saw the message that was being given and they wanted that message and they grabbed onto it. So like
Right.
we can't take responsibility for the level of consciousness that we were at the time, because that's the level of consciousness we were at, and people who were at that same level of consciousness grabbed onto what we had,
Mhm.
and they, instead of like evolving, they decided to hold on to that and stick to that because that's the level they wanted to be at.
Right.
But like that doesn't mean that like we can't reflect and say, yeah, like I wish things were different.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's kind of like we're all on this journey together, and we're like it's almost like a dance, and that's
Yes.
why just like I love dance so much,
Mhm.
because like you are going and just it's like a star system. Like the
Yeah.
dances that I like to do is like a solar system, and like you just
Ah,
come into each other's orbit, you know what I
right.
mean?
Right.
And so it's like in life we're all kind of doing a dance,
Yep.
and like we're coming into orbit with
Mhm.
other people that are in a
Mhm.
similar frequency as
Mhm.
we are, and similar to like you talk about energetically, like with the
Mhm.
ions and things like that, like we're all just kind of pinging off of other
Yeah.
people and experiencing each other.
Mhm.
And so it's like as we're doing this dance, people are meeting us at the similar level we're at.
Mhm.
And as we become evolved and become more experienced at
Mhm.
dance and we like level up, if they're
Mhm.
not leveling up too, then
Yeah, it's one big symphony, and we're playing
yeah,
different instruments, but we have to play at different times or in harmony, or
yeah,
else the song is chaos.
yes,
And we want balance. We
yes,
want music. We
yes.
want beauty in that.
Yes, and that's why
Mhm.
you gotta shed some people as you
Yeah, you're
continue
playing
to
different
as you
songs.
because you playing different songs
Yep, you're
or
dancing to different
and you
beats.
different beats
Yeah.
and different levels of experience.
Mhm.
It's like some people they want to stay at like a novice level. They're just playing around. They're not actually trying to evolve and grow in that dance. But
Some
you
people don't
actually
want to.
want to go to
Yeah.
the next level, and
Right.
so like you more
Mhm.
likely gonna gravitate towards people
Yeah.
who's on that same level of
Mhm.
energy that you
Right.
on that
Yeah.
wants to dance at a
Yeah.
more, because the thing is like that's the thing about expertise is like when you become an expert at something, you actually like it takes a lot more work up front, but once you get there it becomes easier. And I think
Yeah.
people that don't want to invest in their lives, whether it's
Mhm.
spiritually, whether it's in a hobby, whether it's in a job, whatever
Yeah.
that is, if they don't want to do that hard work up front to
Mhm.
invest,
Mhm.
then they're choosing to make life hard indefinitely
Right.
because
Do what
they're
is
not.
hard and your life will be easy. Do what
Yes,
is easy and your life will be
yes,
hard.
yes,
Well, it comes down to the level of physics, that concept where it's going to take a lot more energy to get something started and get something rolling than once it's rolling, it takes no energy at all.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
And so it's like people that want to kind of stay in that easy mode, like we can't be around them because
No,
like
it brings us
they
back
gonna make us
down.
hard. Yes, that's
Yeah.
gonna make our lives harder.
Yeah,
And it's like
literally.
that doesn't mean you can never like interact with them, because
Right.
obviously
Right.
like you would have to just sit on an island if you never want to encounter people, and even
That
uh,
are different than you.
yeah, that are
Right.
different than you.
Mhm.
But it's like because even in dance, you might dance with somebody who's not matched at the same level
Mhm.
as you as a dancer,
Yeah.
and like when you're so high up
Mhm.
in your skill set, like you can actually help them have a better dance and enjoy the dance more
Right.
than you
Mhm.
than they would if they was
Yeah.
dancing with someone on the same level with them.
The
But you
service is more rewarding.
yes,
Mhm.
but you're not always gonna want to dance with that somebody at that level
Right, because
because
then you'll never
you
grow.
you
Then you'll
never
start to
grow,
deplete.
you'll deplete, and you won't
Mhm.
experience the dance in its true beauty,
Yep.
because like when you dance with other people who know what you know and are experiencing the dance in a way that you can experience, you can create more and you can be
Mhm.
more vibrant and you can like experience all the levels and layers that the
Mhm.
dance has. And so it's like it's okay to like have space and room to pull other people up to experience life in the way that you are, but you can't make that a habit. Like you can't make that the only thing you do because
Right.
you're not going to evolve and continue to grow, and you're not going to experience the um, best there is to offer in life or dance or like this is all metaphorical, like, but it's also
It
like
can be
literal at
applied
the same
to so
time.
many things. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's kind of like the concept where you want to be the dumbest person in the room because then you'll learn.
Yes.
You'll elevate.
Yes.
But then there's also times it's good to be the smartest person in the room, in my opinion, because then you can change perspective, not change, provide perspectives that they may not have been aware of.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah. Like the message I just got about that is like you get paid to be the smartest person in the room, but you pay people to be the dumbest person in the room.
Ah.
That's the way it works.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like
Clever.
yeah, when you're like but it's an exchange, right?
Yeah.
And so the way to look at it is like, yeah, it's okay if you are the smartest person in the world, but make sure that like you're getting some value out of it.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
Right. Well,
like
everything's an energy exchange, or else you'll get depleted.
yes, exactly. So you don't want to be the smartest person in the room and do it for free because that's how you end up.
My gosh. Where were you 10 years ago?
Well, I mean, it's like that's the bars that is getting dropped into my life right now. Like I realize I've been doing a lot of stuff for free, and like that's why I haven't been able to get and evolve into the next stage of my life, because I just been like out here just like, yeah, here's my energy, here's my gifts, here's my wisdom, here's this. And people have been like, "Ooh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." And then I ended up in a spot in life where it's like, dang, I don't have a cent to my name.
Literally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate 100% to that. All that time. Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
Lessons you need to learn.
Yes. But and that's why also
better late than never.
Yes. And that's why also, like, if you have the resources, like you should be paying somebody to be the dumbest person in the room. Whether that's a life coach, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a whoever you want to learn from them. Or even in dance, you want to pay for private lessons with like the instructors who are like world renowned and global. Because when you are willing to pay them to be dumber, you leveling up. Like you are growing. And that's the thing about people who stay dumb, so to speak, or stay broke, because it's kind of a correlation, not putting anyone down, but it's like they are afraid to pay for wisdom. They're afraid to invest in themselves. They're afraid to be dumb. Like they're like, oh, I don't want somebody to talk down to me. And it's like, all right, well, I guess.
Well, where's that derived from? The ego, the shadow self, and evil.
Yeah.
Keeping you from being able to grow and expand.
Yes. Yes. And you holding on to pennies when you could be having hundreds. Instead, millions, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like but you just holding on to your pennies. You're like, no, I'd rather,
that comfort. Yeah. The comfort of hell.
Yeah. I'd rather the comfort of hell.
Yeah, right.
But no, not us.
No, not at all.
We breaking free. Yes. 2025.
Yes.
We coming alive.
Oh, I love that. Talk about some bars right there.
Let's go.
For if we hath the will, then we hath the way.
Yep. That's what we on. Vibrant life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're all with us for being the best we can be, what did you say? 2025, we'll be alive.
2025, we coming alive.
Yes. So if you're coming alive with us, stay tuned for our next episode of Exploiting the Explicit.
Oh my God.
There we go. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a wonderful day.
Or night, depending on where you are in the world.
Or morning. And thank you.